Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Atomic Salt Live Show. This is the weekly show where we're going to discuss everything about what's gone on in the tabletop hobby world this week. I am joined by Casey Roberts, aka Rocky Yeti. How's it going, Rocky Yeti?
I'm exhausted, but I'm here, Alan. So please, everybody, we'd like you to join in on the discussion now, or on the VOD by commenting below. We really want to hear from you and hear your thoughts on this week's subjects. Uh, you can also help us by liking this, sharing this with your friend, or subscribing to the channel, or all of the above.
Very nice. Let's start off like we normally do. What have you done this week in the gaming world?
I have done nothing, like absolutely nothing in the gaming world this week. It's been a crazy week for me. I've had people coming in from out of town to stay with us for a few days. I've had to travel out of town, and basically gaming has sat on the back burner for me. So, but I think this is good actually because I'm going to Feast of Blades next week, or the end of this week, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in a minute. But it's kind of let me cleanse my palate a little bit, so I'm not feeling burned out on gaming. What about you?
Very nice. I'm in the same boat. I was busy earlier this week, and when I actually went into the game store to just kind of pal around, it was there was only two people playing, so I was really shocked. Must be the season, or I just came in at bad night and there was nobody around to play, so didn't really get much done hobby-wise.
Was this over at Endzone, or was this at Gamers Asylum?
It was over at Endzone.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually really odd for Endzone.
So it must have just been an odd night for everybody. But that's how it usually goes. But you are going to Feast of Blades, so are you ready for that?
Amazingly enough, I am. I didn't think I would be saying this, but I'm looking at the Feast of Blades is happening this week. It starts on this Friday, October the 10th.
In Denver,
Rest of the
Colorado.
10th. Yep, 10th through the 12th in Denver, Colorado.
You know, there's a football game going on that Saturday too, or it's
Who's playing? Broncos?
yeah.
Screw the Broncos. Nobody cares about the Broncos. And now we're going to have like a million Broncos fans saying, I love the Broncos.
Make sure you email Casey and your thoughts about the Broncos at theatomicsalt@gmail.com.
I don't know what it is. It's like horse teams or something. Like, your most diehard fans in the league are Colts fans and Denver fans. At least Colts fans win some of the time. Denver fans, I call it a lack of altitude if I can themselves. Also, they get Utah because Utah doesn't have a pro football team. Montana doesn't either. Idaho doesn't either. So, just kind of like adopt Denver. I guess we've got nothing better. So technically, I think we're Denver fans, or we're supposed to be, but whatever. I say screw them.
I'm a Steelers fan by family, so can't all be perfect.
You're really not. So, all right. So, anyways, Feast of Blades happening in Denver this week. How about we just start off? This is what the cool thing about Feast of Blades is. We're really watching it evolve. You see a few of the more established things like Adepticon, Bay Area Open, Las Vegas Open, and I'm not saying that they're not growing from year to year, but we're really watching Feast evolve from year to year. They just have an amazing amount of events going on and a lot of diversity.
Now, is this your second year or third year going?
Second year, and this is their 5th year anniversary. So I will have been to 40% of all Feast of Blades tournaments. So let's talk. I'll be participating in the 40K doubles tournament. There's a whole group of us going down. We tried to talk Alan into going with us, but for some reason you have school or something like that that gets in the way. So, we'll be going down to playing the doubles tournament because this is a little bit more of a friendlier event. And let's be honest, we're all just a bunch of poor old dudes who can't afford ultra competitive armies, and we're really happy when we just get everything painted. So we're gonna go down there, roll a few dice, have a few laughs, have a good time, and try not to get pulled over for possession when we come back. But they have a lot of other 40K events going on. They have a 30K tournament, which is amazing. I didn't realize there's enough people out there to play 30K that could actually form a tournament. But they have two different large-scale tournaments, and this is what I like about them. Is one of them is they have their qualifier, and for their qualifier, this is you have to win a local event like what we put on a couple of weeks ago. You have to win that event and go in, and it's very very strict on what you can bring. It's 1,500 points, and there's a lot of qualifiers on your list. Then they also have their open tournament, which anything is allowed. You actually get to bring an unbound list to this tournament, and it's whatever you want.
That would be interesting to see how that one goes.
Now, they do reserve a right to veto your list if they feel like it's a little too maximum. The idea is they really want you to build like a fluffy, kind of fun list. So bring like an all flyer list or like all monstrous creatures sort of thing. Not to build like the most insanely hardcore crush all your opponents type list. So that's more for the narrative, or not for the narrative, for the invitational. The invitational, it's no holds barred. You bring the toughest list you can within the constraints. So they have like ultra competitive, and then just fun and fluffy, which actually describes all the people who are going down there.
That's what you're in. You're in the beer and pretzel league, right?
We are in the beer and pretzel league. So there will be I don't know about pretzels, but there will be lots of beer there.
As we heard from Dexter last year, or last week.
Yeah, as we talked about it, it's quite insane. Every year the hotel underestimates how much alcohol they're going to need, because somebody thinks gamers don't drink. And so it was literally a rush to the other side of the hotel from where all the gaming was happening, because they would announce whenever the bar had a new keg tapped. So they do quite a bit of War Machine as well. So they do Iron Gauntlet qualifiers, but a lot of other like 50 points, TOS sort of things. Infinity is big. Infinity is actually huge. Let me see if I can show you what they had going on here. We're going to do a little screen share action.
Yeah, we heard from, if you guys watched last week's episode, we had Dexter from Sharkman Laser on. He was talking a little bit about his involvement in Beast Blades and what they're going to be working on for this. There he is in the picture.
Yep. Speaking of, there is Dexter in the picture. So this was their Infinity table. You can see it is very dense terrain. That table was packed almost the entire time. But let's take a look at a couple other pictures, just kind of give you an idea, because Beast of Blaze just had tons of terrain. It had on all the tables. And this is what makes it a lot of fun. This was a jungle table. We actually played on it. There were so many trees that it was actually starting to get in the way, and it was problematic to play on. But it was hilariously fun. This was kind of like a Necron themed table. So this was one of those slightly sparser tables in terms of terrain. But you can see all the terrain.
Casey, I've only seen the one picture so far.
Oh, we're still on that one? Alright, well, we'll just start showing different stuff. Okay, so here's the jungle terrain table.
Ooh, yeah, I could see that one being very interesting to play on.
You know, it's really cool. Like when you walk up to the table, you're like, oh yes, I was hoping I was going to play on this. This is so cool. Like especially if you have like a jungle themed army, it just blends in. And there's all sorts of like thickets of trees that you're moving around. It does get to be a little difficult trying to move your armies around. Like you eventually end up taking all the trees off, and you're just leaving the bases that the trees are on to show where the terrain is. But it does make for good pictures, so we don't take any of those. And then we'll show you. Here's one of their more sparsely done tables, but at the same time, you can see all the terrain on this is very custom. So every table that you're going to go to has a theme. In this case, we had a Necron 2 room that, for some reason, Tau and all the other fighting each other on. And then we bring up one more. And I'm showing you all this just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like to play on one of these types of events. Here we go. And so again, you actually have a fairly decent amount of line of sight blocking terrain that you're really having to maneuver around. So it's a lot of fun to play there.
Now, are these tables open all night long, or are they just when the events are going on?
Feast of Blades goes on 24/7. So even though your events are, most of the tournaments, the organized events, knock off around 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But the gaming hall itself will be open 24 hours a day. And all those tables are available to play on whenever you want, or whenever they're open. So all they ask is that you don't log in. So that massive infinity table, you can set up an event there. If you saw a table you just have to play on, you can go over and play on that after hours. It's a great place to actually do pickup games with other people. In that some case you're like, oh my gosh, that is just an amazing army, or my white scars are totally better than your Raven. We need to settle this once and for all. And we just happen to have like a city, perfectly themed table. But speaking of after hours, they have a ton of stuff going on. And in fact, I would say that this is almost, their after hours stuff is almost more fun than the tournaments. Of
Or
course,
is
they're
that
doing
just?
like an art.
Are you just saying that because it's a new day, you're exhausted, mentally exhausted, and you have no idea where you are?
Little column A, little column B. No doubt that if you do too many events, or you've had a harsh day of gaming, you will have a 1,000-yard stare, and you're not guaranteed to remember your own name. But in the evenings, you get to do. They have armies on parade, so you get to show off all of your stuff. It's actually a Crystal Brush qualifier for all of you painters out there. Alan, if you want me to, I'll be happy to transport a couple of your models and something up for you.
Unfortunately, for something like that, you have to be there to turn in your own paint jobs. It will not let you turn in somebody else's. That will get you DQ'd.
Well, we can still just set it out and let people enjoy your thing. But the whole night is open. So, like we said, they have all the armies set out for you to ogle. They have all the tables set up for you to play on. All the vendors are going to be there. Both like selling stuff and then also running demo games. Oh, excuse me. For example, last year I sat down with the guys from Arsenal on their gorgeous Infinity tabletop giant map that they set up, and we actually played Infinity with the Arsenal guys on like their demo display board. So it was probably one of the most beautiful games we've ever played. They do a paint and take blue table painting. Our friends a little bit to the south, they are there and they're painting models right there, so you can actually see the artists at work and see for yourself the quality that they put out. And then they just have like a massive table with loads and loads of bits, like probably 50 pounds of bits just get dumped on the table. And then they have jars of paint everywhere, brushes for you to use, and so glue. So you just get to sit down, build your own model, like you get to kit bash whatever you feel like, paint it all up, and they actually do a painting competition for you afterwards.
I was actually down at BTP yesterday.
And you didn't tell me this?
We were doing a promotion run for the Salt City Gladiator games, and we went all the way down to Happy Valley, and there was nobody there.
Okay, so for those of you people who watch this show and think that Alan and I are like a finely tuned machine, we're really just like two dysfunctional personalities that never know what the other person is doing. So, but that's okay. I wouldn't have been able to make that for I had
Well,
people.
apparently it was conference weekend. I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know. Okay, so then for those of you who like X-Wing, they did this event last year. They did an X-Wing. They tried to recreate the Death Star attack at the end of episode. So we had loads of, and when I say they tried to recreate it, we had something like 50 ships on each side. So we had loads of X-Wings, loads of Y-Wings. The Millennium Falcon made an appearance at the very end. We had loads of TIE fighters, loads of interceptors, a few TIE Advanced, and it was just a giant mash. So, and it was hilariously fun because everybody, it was kind of like a show up whenever you want, play whatever you want, leave whatever you want. So you literally walk up to the table and say, "Hey guys, can I play?" You go, "Of course, sit down." "Hey, you see these half dozen X-Wings? This is Goldwing. They're yours." Or, excuse me, no, Goldwing was Y-Wings. So, Y-Wings, yours. Of course, you're like, "Oh, suck, I don't want Y-Wings." And then you find out the Y-Wings are really awesome. And then you just laugh as you walk and stop on these TIE fighters around you. And then you say,
That should be
yeah, and then you
interesting to
say,
see
like,
this year. If they do that this year, because they've had a lot of releases since last year. They all have the mega ships as well. So
it's going to be the Death Star run again. This was all custom terrain that they built for it, and I think that they would like to get more than one use out of all the Death Star terrain. And I'm not sure if they're trying to take a historical perspective on it or not. So you didn't see any A-Wings, you didn't see any B-Wings, you know, TIE Defenders or anything like that. So maybe we'll see them. I don't know. I hope so. Those look cool. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know, that sounds really fun, but I don't know how to play X-Wing, everybody was super friendly. And when I sat down, I didn't know how to play X-Wing at all. But I guarantee you, after doing a couple of rounds of it, you learn exactly how the game goes. X-Wing is that fun and that easy to pick up. And of course, everybody's drinking too, so if you make a mistake, you just don't learn things. And that's just Friday night what they're doing it. Saturday night is the movie night, so you get into a movie for free. They'll have it on a big screen. You get to sit down with all of your other buddies, and it's kind of like a mystery science fiction theater 3000. Of course, there'll be raffles going on, and they actually have what they call Feast at Feast. So the idea is they want to try and recreate the days of old, when warriors would sit around the table, share a glass of mead, eat meat, and talk about their glories.
So
again,
basically going down to Excalibur in Vegas.
Yes, but without the costumes. And slightly cheaper. It's a buffet dinner at the hotel that you can go to. And they have a huge buffet set up, and they're actually going to have a bunch of comedians there to entertain you. Because sometimes you're thinking, oh, I'm the most hilarious guy in the room. And you sit down at the table and start talking like, I cannot make it work with these people. I thought it was funny, but evidently I'm not. Fortunately, they have professional comedians there to entertain everybody. And while they're doing that, they'll also be doing a special feast at feast only raffle. And when I talk about raffles, guys, like this isn't like, hey, you won, you won a free dice, or the shot glasses we didn't sell out of. Here's one of them. No, these guys have close to $10,000 worth of prizes that they're giving out. $10,000. They give away Titans at this thing. They give
Wow.
away yeah, they give away Titans. They give away starter boxes or like Battle Force boxes. Like the $90, $100 boxes. They just got loads of those sitting up there. You want Infinity starter boxes? They give away Infinity starter boxes. They give away like whole armies of stuff. So, like, really, the raffles are definitely worth it.
Sounds pretty cool. The big question
And
is, are you going to take the camera down there this year?
yes, I plan on taking the camera down there for two reasons. One, we need some kind of video documentation of the glories that I will be reaping, because we're going to go 3 for 3 in the tournament this year, and I need proof of that. We
Three
also
wins or
want to
three
talk to the.
losses?
I was non-specific. Uh, but also, there's a lot of vendors down there, and we want to try and talk to all the vendors, maybe do some interviews with them. And then, most interestingly, we've the guys from the Krug brought Carlos out from Spain. So
Bostria.
Carlos Poster from Spain. We talk about Infinity. So yeah, so we plan on videotaping that and trying to get that out to you guys as soon as possible, because Infinity fans are fanatics for every little new release. And they're also promising to liquor up Carlos, because when he starts having a little he tends to talk a little bit more and say things that Gutierrez really doesn't want him to talk about.
Well, funny you say that. This week on the Beast of War weekend, they gave a little hint about their next Infinity Week coming up, and also Angel Heraldez. His book will be coming on pre-order soon.
Yep. Painting from A to Z.
The Angel
Run by
Heraldez way.
money. Yep. Take my money now. And then, of course, you have all the other competitions going on. So, and Feast of Blades is really working hard to promote themselves as the top competition in the country. So, now that's saying a lot, because we have a lot of amazing competitions going on, like Bay Area Open, Las Vegas Open, and Decathlon. But these guys are motivated. I'd say that they're probably still one of the smaller ones, but they've been growing. They've been doing a lot of growing from year to year, and I think they've got the right motivation, got the right attitude. They're centrally located. I think that these guys have some legs. So get out here early, guys. Go to Feast of Blades. Have a good time. Come find me. We'll have some laughs. I'll roll some dice with you. You can make fun of my horrible rolling, and we'll have a good time.
Very nice. Now, there's one thing I want to bring up. We saw a little bit of some flack this week from a tournament last weekend. Well, we saw some flack on the forums. Apparently, now, please comment below if you have any more information on this. We'd love to hear about it. Start up a conversation. Apparently, there was a War Machine weekend qualifier last week, and at the end, towards the finals, somebody pretty much gave the game to their buddy so their buddy could win. Now, Casey's wrote an article about this not too long ago about taking a dive, and this kind of brought up a lot of interesting stuff this week about tournament validity. Having tournaments that actually means something. Now we have Visa Blades who do qualifier events. We have ITS system for Infinity, uh, and there's a lot of these tournaments where ranking matters to get in. And if some of the event organizers, players are taking a dive or assisting their friends so they could get in, what does that do for the tournament system at large?
I want to start off, first of all, about the article that I wrote about taking a dive. And I still stand by everything that I said in that article, and I still agree with everything I said there. But I want to make a distinction about it. When I talk about taking a dive to one of my friends, this is in an unofficial, playing in the garage or the basement capacity. When you're playing for fun and for having a good time. And while I hope that every game you play, whether it's in a competition or if it's your buddies on game night, I hope that every game you play is fun. There needs to be a big distinction made between competitive and non-competitive. And when I was talking about it, I was talking about non-competitive. So, let's just throw that elephant out.
Well, I mean, when you demo, they say to do a great demo, you're supposed to make sure the other person wins, so they get hooked on it.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, we're actually a War Machine weekend qualifier. You have to have 64 players, and if it comes to question that the organizers or players are letting certain people have an advantage, I mean, does it call to question the way the system's set up for actually competition? I mean, War Machine Qualifier is a very big event. You have it's very strict rules to get inside, but if there's these backdoor events that people just walk right in, I mean, is competition destroying the game?
So you could make the argument, and I think GW has made this argument, that that at least 40K should not be played in a competitive sense. And some people have argued that for or against that position. And I don't really want to get into that because that's another topic. I
Well,
think what this really comes.
we've seen with that. Ard Boys was the biggest event for 40K and Fantasy. They've done away with that. They do not have any official competitive event anymore because of how extreme players are becoming.
Yeah, and it would be really interesting to see. And we always talk in extremes. Like I could imagine a scenario where I bring along 3 or 4 of my friends, and we secretly plan to play each other in every level in the competition, with the express intent that we are going to forward one person to the top table. And in a smaller competition, you might be able to get away with that. Now, in something larger like a 64 player competition, that's going to be very, very difficult to pull off. I'm not even sure you could do that. Or if you did, if it would actually have any noticeable effect. Regardless, though, even if it had an effect or not, it's wrong. And I think that and it all comes down to being a good sport. I mean, some people will win at any cost. And maybe this is the next step of it. But really, and I know that I've done this in tournaments that I've played in, where I've said flat out to the TO, I say, this person is my friend. I do not want to play this person during the tournament unless I have to. If at all possible, avoid matching with this person. One, so I get a better game, so I get to play somebody I've never played before. And two, so there's never any question about whether or not our personal relationship affected the outcome of the game. And I think that everybody should be willing to do that. If you go into a tournament and you know your friends are playing, make that known to the TO. Because they want to run a straight tournament as badly you want to. Because if you win by cheating, you haven't really won. Um, you can make the argument. No, actually, you can't make that argument. I guess some people just see the prize, and a lot of these competitions will actually offer cash prizes to the top few people, and that might actually incentivize people to behave badly. I mean, unfortunately, we're all human beings. There was a situation somewhat this year and also last year at the Bay Area Open, and I don't remember all the names of this, so you guys can feel free to fill it in the comments below, where one of the players who won, and it was the one person who actually took the top spot, is good friends with the TOs. And there was a lot of questions, and it was quickly debunked that this person had actually helped design all of the scenarios and had access to the scenario packet long before everyone else did. And in the years previously, the same person, because of his relationship with TOs, one of the TOs made a comment that he'd actually helped design the winning list for that year. So now you have an interesting question of, as a TO, if you know you're going to be organizing and running a tournament, how do you act around your friends? And let me ask that to you, Alan. You've organized and ran more tournaments than I have.
It's very hard. I mean, like especially at a local store, if you're running an event, more than likely you've been playing with most of those people. So you have the being very objectivity is very important. If you know your friend's very loose on measurement, you have to call them out on it. If somebody, like with 40k, if somebody's getting a first turn assault, and there's a 24-inch gap in between armies, this shouldn't happen. But I mean, there's loose play, and that all comes to bad habits. You'd have to make sure your friend. I mean, you'd have to tell your friends about that. Now, when it comes to cheating, we've seen a few. I've seen a few cases of cheating in the forums. I believe it was one of the major Adepticon. Somebody got called out for having weighted dice, and it came into question, like, what happens? I mean, do you have to DQ the guy, or do you fully DQ him and wipe all his previous wins? Do you give him new dice and tell him he has to play with those? I've also seen before with Art Boys. There was a Blood Angel player. He made it all a couple of rounds in, and then somebody called him out and said, because he had a photo of his army online, said, "This guy's playing with more rocket launchers than his actual list." And it came to question, what do you do after that? I've seen a lot of postings from organizers say cheating has to be, if you suspect cheating, you have to call it out to the TOs first thing, because after it's all said and done, you really can't do anything after that.
Yeah, it's hard to retroactively deal with cheaters, especially in this game where there's in these sorts of games where there's so many different variables going on. It's hard to say how the cheating had an impact, if it had an impact. So, but yeah, there is a dark side to this hobby, unfortunately. And whether it's through cooking dice, cheating on their lists, people just want to win. And I don't know. Do we just say that that's the human condition, and we leave it at that? Can we fix it?
Yeah, that's the hard thing. I mean, there are going to be those people where winning is everything, and those are the people who put a black eye to the whole hobby. I know for our local event here for the Gladiator games, for our Magic event, we had the mentality of players when we talked to them are like, well, I'm just going to get stomped by a competitive player, so I'm not going to attend. And we had to talk to competitive players, and they're like, well, it's not a qualifier for a bigger event, so we're not going to attend. So when you have the mindset of there's somebody going to be better than you playing against you, and you're not going to show up for something to challenge yourself, it's very hard to get people motivated around that.
Now, at this point, I want to say I have actually never seen a person knowingly cheat in a competitive setting, or even in a full fun setting. So I don't want everybody to think that once you go to these tournaments, that's all people are doing. They're trying to game each other, or cheat each other. That's really not the truth. 99% of people out there want to win the right way, and it's just these few bad apples that kind of give everything a bad name. So if you're thinking about going out to a tournament, but you're afraid of having to deal with this, please don't let this set you back, because really these are outlier cases that we're talking about. But an interesting twist, and we kind of touched on it at the beginning, was like ITS, Infinity ITS tournaments. If you order one from Corvus Belli, you get a whole prize pack, including some exclusive miniatures that are very, very cool. Now, these prize packs are not cheap. They run $65, $75, $100 plus shipping on top of that. But there is nothing stopping you from going out and buying that prize package, keeping all the prizes, because let's face it, there's some really cool prizes that you put in there. Giving yourself the trophy, and if you're really feeling dastardly, you can go back and report that you won this tournament. You can fake all of it. You can create a half dozen fake profiles, and you can show that you raffle stumped them all. And you can do this on smaller tournaments as well. They have little mini tournaments that affect your international standing. And there are real prizes for that international standing. You could show them that you're playing 2 to 3 tournaments every week and you're winning all of them. I mean, the only thing that's stopping you is your bank account.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I guess, like the ethics of players. Back when I was playing a lot of computer games, I mean, I was really hard into Counter-Strike back in the day, and you could tell the people who had the auto-aim hack going on, because all of a sudden you walk around a corner and you get shot by somebody out of nowhere, and this guy's racking up headshots. You're like, okay, blatant cheater. But I mean, what's it for him? I mean, what pride does a cheater get at the end of the day, knowing that he bent the system so he could win?
Sure. But beyond that, there are physical things that come along with this. Like for Feast of Blaze Qualifier, there's nothing stopping you from buying the Feast of Blaze Qualifier package and proclaiming yourself the winner of that tournament and getting yourself an invite into the invitational of Feast of Blaze. And that's true for any other invitational tournament. And I mean, Alan, if you wanted to, you could have put your name in the top slot, and no one would have known any different. Now, is that just? I mean, can you just say at that point, well, that guy really, really wants to play the invitational enough so that he's going to spend $100 of his own money to get invited to it?
Well, I mean, if you're that kind of a player, that it's gonna, but having that kind of mindset is not going to help you out at the big show.
No.
I mean, if you don't play correctly, it's going to show up when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm. I think in any area, you can look at professional sports. You can look at business, you can look at politics. People who have enough money, people will do whatever it takes to win, including spend a lot of money. And you could argue that the guys who go out there and just buy the latest net list, the strongest net list that they can find, and they just go and, direct order it from GW and have, some random guy paint it all for them. And so they're showing up with, the most powerful possible army in the game at that point. You could argue they're doing the same thing. They are literally paying to win. And so, is there a difference between what that person is doing and what the person who is buying their own invitational package just to ensure that they go? Is there a difference there?
I mean, just all we're gonna have to rack it up to karma and say, hopefully everything balances out at the end, and the true people who win are the ones who went blood, sweat, and tears and got that far on their own merit, and not bending the rules.
You know, there's a Navy SEAL quote that says, "If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough." And that if you really want to win, like if you really, really want to win, you will do whatever it takes to win. Now they're talking about a life and death situation. We're talking about who fights to win. So situation's a little different. But the thought remains the same. You could argue that the guy who buys his way to a qualifier, buys his own arm, buys a netlist army, buys somebody else's paint job on it, because that's happened too. People have paid golden demon winners for what the artist thought was a commission, and then turn around and use that as as their entry into a painting competition. Is that person? Could you say that person just wants to win enough? Win more. They want to win more than anyone else, and so they're willing to do whatever it takes.
It's crazy. But we'll be interested to see how that is at your time at Feast of Blades.
Very true. I'm putting you on the hot spot here. I'm asking a lot of difficult philosophical questions, which I'm not sure anybody has a good answer for. I know everybody has an answer, and they have their own opinions on it. My opinion is if you don't have the integrity to play the game correctly and to play fairly, then I don't want to play with you. I don't mind losing as long as it happens fairly.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Put in the comments below. Start a conversation. We'll be answering questions in the comments. So let's keep this going.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say about this, because I think that this is a topic that really has some legs to it. And I know everybody has an opinion.
All right. I think that's about it for the show. Let's see. There were a few things that came out this week. We saw the new release for Dark Eldar. So you'll be probably seeing a lot of those down there at Feast.
Probably won't, because Feast of Blades actually already had their cutoff for their list building last week. And so the new Dark Eldar Codex will not be in play. Unless they make some random announcement for the next couple of days that it's okay to send in the Dark Eldar, but I don't see that happening.
And then, do you have the release list for Infinity for September?
Not pulled up. Sorry.
We'll have to. Huh? No worries. We got really existential this week.
Corvus Belli's behind on announcing all of their releases, so we're behind on covering them. So.
Like I said, we saw a little snippet that we will be seeing Angel Haralda's book here in the near future. We will be seeing a new Infinity Week for Beast of War. So keep an eye out for that. We will definitely be talking about that one, and hopefully next week we'll have Casey too tired to be coherent, and he'll tell us all about Piece of Blades.
It'll be my pleasure.
All right, so I think that wraps up the show for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in next week. Please comment below. Let us know what you think. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to see more stuff coming from the Atomic Salt Show.
And also, if you're a company and you'd like us to review something, like your latest new products, go ahead and give us an email at theatomicsalt@gmail.com. So we are the Atomic Salt, and we've just blown your mind. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Happy tabletop.